Hi everyone, welcome to Constitution of India. Today we are starting this chapter in reference to CS executive students. Although Constitution of India has a great number of provisions, but of course all of them are not in our syllabus. So please do not expect that the entire Constitution will be discussed here. Only the part which is present in the CS executive syllabus of jurisprudence subject shall be discussed here. I'll be taking two sessions of 1 hour each to complete the constitution. There are around 20 pages in which I have covered the entire constitution. All these notes are available on our website. You can either refer to the website or you can go to the Telegram channel of ours, or you can contact directly to me or my team. Will definitely provide you. This video of Constitution of India will cover everything whatever is present in your CS executive syllabus. This video is meant for a revision, but I would not call it a fast track one. I would call it a revisionary lecture. I will not call it fast track because I'll not be going very fast by teaching and discussing these topics, right? I'll be taking very slowly and gradually, but I've written pointers which will save our time. I've written all the entire material in pointers, in bullet points. This will help you. Let me repeat all these points in Hindi for a second. ये आज की जो क्लास कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया की है दोस्तों, उसके अंदर पूरा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया कवर नहीं किया गया है. जितना आपके सिलेबस में है, हाँ उतना जरूर है. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया के अंदर बहुत सारे प्रोविजंस हैं, लेकिन वो सारे अपने सिलेबस में नहीं है. आपके स्टडी मॉड्यूल के मुताबिक जितनी भी चीजें कोर्स में कवर हैं वो सब यहां पर कराई जाएंगी. ये बैच एक रिवीजन बैच है, तो हम पॉइंटर्स में इसको कवर करने की कोशिश करेंगे. मैंने छोड़ा कुछ नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी हम देखेंगे. अगर आपको कोई चीज समझनी हो और आपको ऐसा लग रहा हो कि वो इसमें कवर नहीं है, then kindly reach me. I'll definitely cover that as well, although in my opinion everything is covered. Fine. So let us start with the preamble. Preamble does not have the academic importance as such. एग्जाम में preamble अलग से लिखने को कभी नहीं आ सकती. वो लिखी लिखाई हो सकती है, and they can give you a kind of discussion question on this. Let me read it for you once and let me remind you once again. Preamble does not have a direct importance and relevance for your exam. Preamble is something that we need to know. एक भारतीय नागरिक होने के नाते, एज अ सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया, वी मस्ट बी aware of our constitution. We must know and understand what is the true soul of the constitution, and for that purpose we are reading the preamble. Otherwise it has no direct connection to our exams questions. We the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India, हम सब ने मिलकर हिंदुस्तान बनाया, right, into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So there we are given 4 characteristics of our nation. हमारे देश के 4 फीचर्स यहाँ पर बताए गए हैं. Sovereign means an independent entity. Although the dictionary meaning of the word sovereign is king or the queen, लेकिन यहाँ पर sovereign का मतलब राजा या रानी से नहीं है. Here the sovereign word means that India is an independent nation. India has its own identity. Then the second characteristic, socialist, means that we are not capitalist, we are a socialist country. We think of society, we made of society. Secular means India as a whole does not have any religion of its own. India honors, respects, promotes and gives freedom to practice any religion. इसलिए हिंदुस्तान को सेकुलर कहा गया. Next is democratic republic. We are run by a democracy wherein people select their representatives, they go to parliament, they go to legislature, और फिर वो मिलकर फैसले करा करते हैं हिंदुस्तान के लोगों के लिए. When we say democracy, we say that सारे फैसले हम अपने लिए खुद लेते हैं, but practically 130 crore people cannot meet at one place and cannot decide on any matter. So what we do, we appoint our representatives, and these representatives discuss and decide for the entire nation, right? उसके आगे लिखा है to secure to all its citizens. Constitution of India will try to provide few things to every citizen of the country. They are justice, liberty, and equality. These three rights are being promised in the preamble itself. हर देश के नागरिक को न्याय मिलेगा in the form of social justice, so economic justice and political justice. Social justice means that there can be no discrimination in society. Everybody has equal rights. In when we take about economic justice, तो everybody has right to practice its profession. पॉलिटिकल के अंदर हर आदमी अपनी अलग पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी रख सकता है, एंड there must be justice in these three manners. Liberty means freedom, freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, and we'll definitely talk about in detail. इनके बारे में आगे आएगा तब हम और सीखेंगे. And to promote among them all, हिंदुस्तान के सारे नागरिकों के बीच में हमें प्रमोट करना है क्या? फ्रेटर्निटी during the just a second. Yes, now it is clear. It must be visible now. We'll promote, or the constitution will attempt to promote what? Fraternity. What is fraternity? A kind of a sense of brotherhood among all, assuring the dignity of the individual and integrity of the nation. हम अपनी आइडेंटिटी ना खोएं, इंडिया अपनी आइडेंटिटी ना खोए. We remain independent, but we remain together as well. And thus was preamble talked about. Preamble का मैं एक बार फिर आपको याद दिला दूं. I wanted to discuss preamble. That is why I am covering this preamble in the revision. Otherwise, for exam point of view, preamble is not that much important. The only possibility of exam is that they'll give you few words from the preamble and you need to discuss it. They cannot ask you to write the preamble as it is. So it is not expected from you to remember every single word of the preamble as it is. Although you must have seen in NCERT books that the preamble is written on the first or second page of every book. तो अब तक वैसे आपको याद होना चाहिए था, लेकिन अगर नहीं भी याद है तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. ओके, सो नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज ब्रॉड फ्रेमवर्क. हियर वी हैव ब्रॉड फ्रेमवर्क. व्हाट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस फ्रेमवर्क इज ऑल अबाउट. It came into force on 26th January 1950. It has 395 articles, but naturally all of them are not covered here in the syllabus. 22 parts and 12 schedules. Let me remind again, if any student who does not belong to company secretary executive, this video is not for you. ये वीडियो सिर्फ और सिर्फ CS executive के jurisprudence students के लिए ही है. Anybody not belonging to the CS course may stop watching. आपका दिल है वैसे, right? Let me just change the page now. Let's come to the third heading. Yes, it should be visible to you now. Let me show you the structure of the constitution. The third heading that we'll be discussing now is structure of the constitution. When we say structure of the constitution, we are actually discussing the true features of the constitution. What are the true features of the constitution? What are the values it is providing? True features of constitution. जब आप स्ट्रक्चर पढ़ोगे कहीं पर भी, तो स्ट्रक्चर के अंदर आपको बताया जाएगा what constitution is all about, what kind of features it has for everyone. Point 1, supremacy of constitution. When we say supremacy of constitution, we mean that every Indian law must obey what the constitution is saying. Constitution overrides every other law. Second, rule of law. Constitution lays down boundaries within which the law must be created. Constitution वो boundary create करता है जिसके अंदर law बनना चाहिए. Third is independence of judiciary. Constitution allows freedom to judiciary that it should work independently. It should not get affected by the pressures of either the political parties or the government or any other factor as such. Next is doctrine of separation of powers. हमारे देश में executive, legislature and judiciary अपना अपना काम करें. There should be clear demarcation of their powers. Sovereign democratic republic वर्ड का मतलब हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. Parliamentary system of government का मतलब है that the government obtains all its powers from constitution, and constitution allows a parliamentary system of government. We set up a parliament where we appoint our representatives. They discuss all the matters, they decide all the matters, they make all the laws which are applicable on India. Free and fair elections हिंदुस्तान में होते हैं, जहां पर you need not to pay for casting your vote, and when you don't pay for your casting of vote, you come to the polling booth. If you're charged for casting your vote, some people may not turn up, कुछ लोग नहीं आएंगे. फेयर इलेक्शंस की बात जब हम करते हैं तो उसका मतलब है कि इंडिया में जो इलेक्शंस हो वो फेयर हो, बायस्ड ना हो. एंड लास्ट इज द वेलफेयर स्टेट. इट इज द ड्यूटी ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट टू प्रोवाइड वेलफेयर टू एवरी सिंगल सिटीजन ऑफ द नेशन. सो दिस वाज स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, राइट. अगला जो टॉपिक है, नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज फेडरल वर्सेस यूनिटरी. This is a long disputed debate. Some people say that the Constitution of India is federal in nature. Some people say that Constitution of India is unitary in nature. ये जो line आप देख पा रहे हो, this line would tell you the exact conclusion regarding this debate. Constitution of India is basically federal, but with certain unitary features. What does it mean? क्या मतलब है फेडरल और यूनिटरी का? वैसे तो आपको पता होगा. फेडरल का मतलब होता है दोस्तों विच इज मेड ऑफ डिफरेंट पार्ट्स, विच इज मेड ऑफ डिफरेंट स्टेट्स और डिफरेंट यूनिट्स, बट दे आर ऑल्सो कंबाइंड इन वन सिंगल एंटिटी. कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी तक, बंगाल से गुजरात तक हमारे पास एक भारत है, और उस एक भारत में देयर इज अ यूनिटी इन सो मेनी मैटर्स. We have unity in matters of financial management. We have unity in matters of public education. We have unity in matters of the regulations of the monetary policy, currency printing, banking system. बहुत सारे ऐसे मामले हैं wherein the union government is authorized to make laws and union government is the only regulator. तो भारतीय संविधान फेडरल है, लेकिन उसमें कुछ फीचर्स यूनिटरी जरूर है. It allows states independent freedom, but it equally allows a union government जिसके पास overriding powers होती हैं. Anyways, peculiar features of Indian federalism. ध्यान से देखिएगा, हिंदुस्तान का जो फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर है, फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर्स का मतलब समझ गए आप. यू आर श्योर व्हाट इज फेडरलिज्म? Federal system is wherein you allow states to work on their own, and India is made up of these states. So all these states should have been given a kind of power on independent basis, which is actually given. इसीलिए ये कहा जाता है that Indian federalism is the key feature of India. Mode of formation. India कैसे बना? Similar to Canada, creation of autonomous units and combining them into federation. Canada की तरह हमारा सिस्टम कनाडा से मैच करता है. Our system does not match with United States. Canadian system में there is one judiciary, there is one government ruling all the states, right? और वो जो अपने अपने states हैं उनकी अपनी government है. But unlike USA, हमारे पास कनाडा से मैच करता है, और USA में क्या अलग है? USA के अंदर there are dual judiciary, there are dual government, but here we have autonomous units which have been combined into one federation. Position of the states. Various safeguards have been provided to state to maintain their unique identity. Citizenship. We have single citizenship as against dual citizenship in America. In America, people get dual citizenship. They get citizenship for a particular state as well as for the United States as a whole. But here in India, you may belong to Madhya Pradesh, you may belong to Maharashtra, but you will be having one citizenship of the entire India as a whole. ठीक है? अगला फीचर देखते हैं. Residuary power vested in the union. Vested in the union मतलब जितनी भी शक्तियां यहां पर हमने पढ़ी, जितनी भी शक्तियां आपने अभी देखी, जितने भी पॉइंट्स आप आगे पढ़ेंगे, क्लियर कट्स कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में शेड्यूल में लिस्ट है. एक यूनियन लिस्ट, एक स्टेट लिस्ट, एक कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट. कौन सी पावर्स आर अवेलेबल विद सेंटर, कौन सी पावर्स आर अवेलेबल विद स्टेट, which all powers are concurrent in nature, and everything which is not assigned to anybody remains with the union government. That's the another feature of the Indian federalism. So our federalism may not absolutely match with Canada, but yes, it is most likely similar to the Canadian system. Somebody may ask you, what are the features of federalism? So this is different question. And what are the features of Indian federalism? That's a different question. फेडरलिज्म के फीचर्स और इंडियन फेडरलिज्म के फीचर्स ये दोनों अलग अलग चीजें हैं. What we discussed right now was features of Indian federalism. We are not concerned about discussing a word only what is federalism. We were discussing features of Indian federalism. हिंदुस्तान के फेडरलिज्म का क्या मतलब है, हमने वो डिस्कस करा. ऑल राइट. नाउ अब हम आज की क्लास में दो चीजें पढ़ेंगे जिसमें हमारा पूरा टाइम डिवोट होगा. Today we'll talk about two major things that will take up our time today. One, fundamental rights, and second, fundamental duties. Fundamental rights and fundamental duties are the two things that we are covering in this first video of Constitution of India under jurisprudence for CS Executive. Fundamental rights दोस्तों, when we discuss fundamental rights, हमें ऐसा लगता है कि जिस पल हमारी आंखें खुली, the moment we took birth, we got these rights. तो आपको लगता तो ठीक है, you got it right, but you are also given certain duties which we generally forget. होता क्या है कि हमको अपने अधिकार तो सरकार से मांगने आते हैं, लेकिन हमें अपने कर्तव्य निभाने नहीं आते. We know that we how to demand rights from the government, from the court, how to challenge somebody if somebody questions or puts restrictions on our human rights or fundamental rights. But we always forget to fulfill duties that have been given by same constitution to us in some set of articles. We as citizen of India must maintain a balance between fundamental rights as well as fundamental duties. We cannot afford to enjoy fundamental right and do not at all care for our fundamental duties. So today let me remind you all that we do have fundamental rights, but we also have fundamental duties. But the point is, fundamental rights can be exercised in the court, fundamental duties cannot be exercised in the court. आप सरकार से अधिकार मांग सकते हो, but सरकार आपसे ड्यूटीज नहीं मांग सकती. You can go to the court against government to demand your rights, but government cannot go to the court claiming your duties. Okay, so let us start concept of fundamental rights. Concept of fundamental rights. All the fundamental rights are written in part 3 of the Constitution, and it is a kind of index for all the rights. All the rights are being shown here on the screen. Right to equality is Article 14. It's not and 18. It's right of equality is Article 14 to 18. राइट टू फ्रीडम इज आर्टिकल 19 टू आर्टिकल 22. ये आपको नंबर्स जो हैं दोस्तों, एज अ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी स्टूडेंट, इफ आई से नीड नॉट टू रिमेंबर, इवन इफ यू फॉरगेट एंड यू राइट द करेक्ट आंसर, दैट विल बी ओके, बट एज अ सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया यू शुड रिमेंबर दीज आर्टिकल नंबर्स. लेकिन इतना कंफ्यूजन नहीं करना है कि आर्टिकल नंबर याद करते करते आप टॉपिक ही भूल जाएं. राइट, डू नॉट फोकस टू मच ऑन द आर्टिकल नंबर दैट यू फॉरगेट द मेन टॉपिक एंड the soul of the topic. Right against exploitation, Article 23 and 24. Right to freedom of religion, it's not 25 and 28, it's 25 to 28. Cultural and educational rights 29 and 30. Constitutional remedies, Article 32. So this is a kind of index for all the fundamental rights. अब एक एक करके इनको हम डिस्कस करेंगे. We'll discuss them one by one. We'll learn them one by one, and then we'll go to fundamental duties. Let me just start with the first one. Yes, before starting the fundamental rights, let me show you what Article 31 was all about. Article 31 talked about right of property. It was earlier a fundamental right, but now it is not a fundamental right, it's just a legal right. पहले राइट ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी फंडामेंटल राइट हुआ करता था, तब इनकम टैक्स और ऐसी चीजें नहीं थी जिसमें आपको प्रॉपर्टी पे टैक्स देना पड़े. फिर सरकार ने बोला कि अगर आप प्रॉपर्टी रखते हो तो बस उसमें से हमें आपको हिस्सा देना पड़ेगा. नो मोर अ फंडामेंटल राइट, ओनली अ लीगल राइट. राइट. नेक्स्ट हेडिंग इज व्हाट इज स्टेट. आर्टिकल 12 डिफाइंस द स्टेट. व्हाट इज एक्चुअली द स्टेट मीन्स. स्टेट का मतलब यहां राज्य नहीं है. हियर द स्टेट डज नॉट मीन अ पर्टिकुलर स्टेट लाइक उड़ीसा और आंध्र प्रदेश और पंजाब और तमिलनाडु. Here the state means a government. State includes government and parliament of India, government and legislature of each state, yes, government and parliament of India, government and legislature of each state. Obviously when you talk about the entire India, the parliament and the central government is state. And when you talk about a particular state government, the legislature, the Vidhan Sabha and the government of that particular state is state. All local and other authorities like municipality, municipal council, Nagar Nigam, Panchayat, either within Indian territory or under control of government of India. What does it mean? Suppose there is an authority which is within the territory of India, that is anyways a government entity, that is anyways a state, right? Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, National Highways Authority of India, they are based in India, they are operating in India, they are government entities, they are government authorities, so they are state. लेकिन अगर कोई ऐसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जो हिंदुस्तान में नहीं है, which is not in India, there is an organization which is situated outside India, but that is in control of the government of India, that will also be the called a state, right? If suppose central government establishes their own office in some other country, that will also be called as state. Why are we discussing the state word here? हम क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं state word? क्योंकि fundamental rights हमें किससे मांगने हैं? State से. Fundamental duties will fulfill toward whom? Toward state. That is why we are discussing the word state. Okay? Now, there is an important topic. Test of state in case of an entity. If suppose there is a corporation, there is an organization, there is a company, there is an entity, how to check whether that organization is a government entity or not? How to check whether that entity will cover in the definition of state or not? Suppose you have a dispute with Indian Oil Corporation. Indian Oil Corporation is a company, right? Limited by shares. So if you have a dispute with Indian Oil Corporation, for example, what will it be called? Do you have a dispute with the government? Do you have a dispute with the state? See, this is the 6-point test. ये 6 पॉइंट का टेस्ट है जिससे ये पता चलता है कि जिस एंटिटी के साथ आप बिजनेस कर रहे हैं, जिस एंटिटी के साथ आप डिस्प्यूट कर रहे हैं, जिस एंटिटी के साथ आप ट्रांजैक्शन कर रहे हैं, वो स्टेट है या नहीं. सी, शेयर कैपिटल हेल्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट. इफ ऑलमोस्ट द एंटायर शेयर कैपिटल इज हेल्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट, yes, that organization will be called state. If the entire financial assistance, that means the entire money available with an entity is coming from government, that will be state. If an organization has a monopoly status which is in fact protected by government, generally monopoly is not considered good. Monopoly is something which is a punishable offense in India. But if the government itself is protecting monopoly status of an entity, that particular entity shall be considered as state itself. If an organization has deep and pervasive state control, that means government of India is managing each and every activity of that organization. So because of so much control, the organization will be termed as state. If the functions of an organization are of public importance, such as transport corporations, electricity corporations, they work although in a manner of corporate entity, but they work for public utilities, they work in a manner which is of importance for the general public. That is why they will be treated as state. Next is any department of government which is transferred to a corporation to be taken care of will also be government. In some states we see that distribution of electricity has been given to the distribution companies of private sector. I am talking about electricity. So we call it DISCOM. electricity is produced by one entity and that electricity is distributed by another entity. The entity which is distributing the electricity in many of the states is a private sector entity, but that private sector entity has been given a task of managing something related to government function. That will also be considered as state. ठीक है, चलो अब नेक्स्ट हेडिंग है जस्टिफिएबिलिटी ऑफ फंडामेंटल राइट्स. ध्यान से देखिएगा, बहुत ध्यान से. दिस इज इन आर्टिकल 13 व्हाट आई एम डिस्कसिंग राइट नाउ. If we have a law already made in India before constitution which does not match with the fundamental rights or which does not allow fundamental rights to get implemented, अगर हिंदुस्तान में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन आने से पहले का कोई कानून है which is disturbing the free flow of constitutional right, fundamental rights, that will remain valid unless declared void. जब तक इंडियन कोर्ट डिनाई नहीं कर देते, that this particular law is unconstitutional, they will remain valid. Any pre-constitution law will remain valid unless declared void, even if it is disturbing the implementation of fundamental rights. But if we talk about future laws, they cannot even be made if they are restricting the fundamental right. Okay? So, in Article 13, fundamental rights have been given a supreme authority, an overriding power on everything else, that if a particular law which is being made by Parliament, which is restricting the enjoyment of fundamental rights, cannot be made at all. And if a law which has already been in place, which is already there at the time of making constitution, will continue till the time the court orders as them invalid. Next, 11. Doctrine of severability. What do we mean by severability? Alag karna, to make it apart, to keep it separate. Suppose there is a law. And it has two or more than two parts. A particular law, suppose, can be divided into different parts. One part of that law is affecting the implementation of fundamental right, and the another part of that law is very much valid and it is not interfering with the fundamental rights. So only that part which is not interfering in the fundamental rights can be implemented and not the previous one. Let me repeat once again. अगर कोई लॉ दो पार्ट में है और उसका एक पार्ट फंडामेंटल राइट को अप्लाई नहीं होने दे रहा, and the second part has no interference in fundamental rights, so only that much law is valid, and the first part which is hindering the fundamental rights, which is disturbing the fundamental rights, shall be considered as invalid. मेरी बात बहुत ध्यान से सुनिएगा. Where an act was partly invalid, if the valid portion was severable from the rest, valid portion would be maintained provided that it was sufficient to carry out purpose of the act. If a law has two parts, one valid, one invalid, the valid part can be implemented, can be enforced. But how do we check a part to be valid or invalid? If it is not creating disturbance, if it is not interfering in the fundamental rights, only then it is valid, otherwise it is invalid. Okay? So now, doctrine of eclipse. What do you mean by eclipse? The eclipse that we find in sun and moon, right? Whether the eclipse is permanent in nature? Never, not at all. The eclipse comes for an hour, for few hours, for a day, or for a night maximum. It cannot last for few days, in fact. So what do we mean by eclipse? Suppose there is a pre-constitutional law. Suppose we have in India a pre-constitutional law, a law made before making the constitution. The moment constitution came, the pre-constitution law created hindrance in the fundamental rights. It is inconsistent, it is not matching. You got my point? Suppose हमारे पास एक ऐसा लॉ है जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के बनने से पहले बना था. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के बनने से पहले जो लॉ बना था, वो पर्टिकुलर लॉ इज क्रिएटिंग हिंड्रेंस, इन द इंप्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ फंडामेंटल राइट. फंडामेंटल राइट वाला जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है उसके आते ही पुराना लॉ इनवैलिड होने लगा, तो वो डाई नहीं करेगा, वो केवल छिपेगा. द ओल्ड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, ओल्ड प्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ which is not matching with the fundamental rights will not become dead in itself automatically. It will be under eclipse. It will be just hidden. The moment an amendment is there wherein the fundamental right is taken away or the particular invalid law becomes valid, it will come back into the light. See, though an existing law means pre-constitutional law inconsistent with the fundamental right becomes inoperative, yet it is not dead altogether. Inoperative तो हो जाता है, जैसे ही पुराना कोई कानून फंडामेंटल राइट के अगेंस्ट आता है वो इनऑपरेटिव हो जाता है, इनएक्टिव हो जाता है. It just remains eclipsed and may become effective again after amendment if later on, after some time, some amendment comes, and because of that amendment the particular pre-constitutional law which was inoperative because of the constitution and fundamental right, it will become active once again. All right, so it was doctrine of eclipse. Doctrine of eclipse हो गई. अब आगे बढ़ते हैं. एक डॉक्ट्रिन है डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ वेवर. एक सेकेंड, डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ वेवर. ये जो डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ वेवर है दोस्तों, इट सेज दैट इफ अ पर्सन इज विलिंग टू सरेंडर हिज फंडामेंटल राइट्स हिमसेल्फ, द लॉ मस्ट अलाउ हिम. द ओनली कंडीशन इज दैट ही मस्ट बी अवेयर व्हाट ही इज सरेंडरिंग. ही मस्ट बी वॉलंटरी डूइंग दिस. अगर आपको अपने फंडामेंटल राइट्स पता होंगे कि वो क्या हैं, तभी आप उन्हें सरेंडर कर सकते हैं. अगर आपको अपने फंडामेंटल राइट्स पता ही नहीं है तो आप क्या सरेंडर करेंगे? सो द फर्स्ट कंडीशन इज यू मस्ट बी अवेयर अबाउट योर फंडामेंटल राइट्स एंड द सेकंड कंडीशन इज यू मस्ट बी डूइंग इट वॉलंटरली. दिस इज कॉल्ड डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ वेवर. अ पर्सन इज हिज बेस्ट जज. व्हाट डज इट मीन? You know what is good for you. You know what is bad for you. If you're a major person, you're not a minor person. You're beyond a particular age which is there for majority. That means you have senses, right? And when you have senses, you have a sound mind. You can decide what you need and what you do not, what you like and what you do not. If you're really willing to surrender your fundamental rights, you can. The court and the law cannot restrict you from doing this. A person is his best judge. He has the liberty to waive the enjoyment of such rights. However, person must have the knowledge of rights and waiver should be voluntary, right? Knowledge is condition number 1 and voluntary waiver is condition number 2. All right. Now we are done with the basic headings. We'll start discussing the fundamental rights now. अब हम फंडामेंटल राइट्स डिस्कस करना शुरू कर रहे हैं. सबसे पहले वील टॉक अबाउट राइट ऑफ इक्वालिटी. इट इज एनुमरेटेड इन आर्टिकल 14 to 18. आर्टिकल 14 से आर्टिकल 18 तक वी हैव राइट ऑफ इक्वालिटी. राइट ऑफ इक्वालिटी के अंदर वील डिस्कस अबाउट द इक्वालिटी ऑफ ऑल द सिटीजन्स ऑफ इंडिया विद रिस्पेक्ट टू वेरियस मैटर्स. इन एवरी फंडामेंटल राइट देयर इज लेस ऑफ एक्सप्लेनेशन and there is more of learning. Let me repeat what I said. In every article of fundamental right, there is less of explanation and understanding, there is more of learning. कम चीजें हैं जो आपको समझानी होंगी मुझे, क्योंकि वो ऑटो समझ आ जाती हैं जैसे ही आप उनका नाम पढ़ते हैं. किस किस बात की इक्वालिटी है, किस किस बात की फ्रीडम है, ये सब कुछ you can understand by just reading them. So there is more of learning rather than explaining. Okay? So please give it a clear reading after my lecture. You read word by word what my notes say. ठीक है? There is no need to go for the long and thick books for preparing for your exams in a well manner. Even if you do what I'm giving to you, you will be scoring more than 60. That's for sure. All right. So now we have Article 14. Article 14 says equality before the law and equal protection of laws. What does it mean? Before the law, everybody is equal, irrespective of his post, irrespective of seniority, juniority, irrespective of the how much wealth does he possess. सब बराबर हैं, सब में उसी का नूर समाया. It forbids class legislation but does not forbid classification. What does it mean? Equal protection of law का मतलब है कि सबके लिए लॉ एक जैसे बनते हैं. You cannot make separate law for separate section of society. Every law will be implemented in equal manner, but yes, classification can be given, can be done. Next is Article 15. Article 15 says there will be prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion etc. Religion के basis पर, age के basis पर, gender के basis पे there is lot of discrimination that used to take place before constitution and in some parts of India still today. So वो जो discrimination है that is prohibited by this Article 15. However, special provisions may be made for upliftment of the backward community, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. If you give a kind of reservation to some sections of society, this is not to create discrimination. That is to create a kind of a kind of protection. It is to give them a protection to these people, where because they do not have a kind of equal rights. Society does not treat them equal. That is where the law has to give them some special rights. Article 16. Article 16 says equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Public employment offered should be available for everyone. Abolition of untouchability. Untouchability should not be present in India. 18th, abolition of titles. What is titles? Title says in English times, when Britishers were ruling India, they used to give certain titles to some people. Sir, देखिए, Sir, Raj Bahadur, Rai Sahab, Knight. These were the kind of some titles used to be given to some eminent personalities of the nation. But what was the problem? Why are they abolished? Because they created a kind of social imbalance in the society. They created a kind of feeling of inferiority among other people who were not being given these things. So in order to avoid any imbalance, these titles were abolished. अब इनमें से कोई भी टाइटल किसी को नहीं दिया जाता. Next heading we have is rights relating to freedom. Article 19 से 22 तक we will discuss about freedom. In the 19th article we have freedom of speech and expression. We can assemble peacefully. We can assemble peacefully. ठीक है, लड़ाई मारपीट नहीं करनी है. Without arms. Note it down. Mark my words. You can attend a kind of gathering. You can assemble peacefully at a place to do some procession or to do some a rally or something, but it should be without arms. You can form association, you can form unions, you can move freely in entire India without restrictions. You can reside and settle anywhere in India. Nobody can restrict you from coming from one state to another state. It is your choice where do you wish to settle. If you are born and brought up in one particular state, you may decide to live and get settled in some other state. You can practice any profession, you can practice any occupation, you can do any trade, and you can carry on any business. There is no reservation kind of thing that this textile business can be done only by this particular section of society and the steel business can be done only by this section of society. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. All can do all. All right. So now we have the 20th right. 20th article. This is also giving us some fundamental rights relating to freedom. हमें protection है against ex post facto law. इसका मतलब पता है आपको? If you have done an activity, for example, today this activity is legal, but tomorrow the same activity becomes illegal. You will not be punished. जब आपने कोई एक्टिविटी करी और जब वो करी तब वो लीगल थी, कुछ दिन बाद the same legal activity was declared illegal. That doesn't mean that the all past activities were also illegal. You cannot be punished for a law which will be made after your action. All right. Protection against double jeopardy. What is double jeopardy? One person cannot be punished more than once for the same offense. एक ही बार चालान कटेगा, एक ही अपराध के लिए दो बार सजा नहीं दी जा सकती, my lord. All right, the same offense cannot become the subject matter of two punishments. Protection against self-incrimination. What does it mean? You cannot force somebody to accept his, the wrong done by him. If a person is saying whatever I've done is right in my opinion, you cannot put pressure on that person to accept that he has done this thing. जबरदस्ती pressure से किसी से किसी बात के लिए हाँ नहीं करानी है. All right. Article 21 is about protection of life and liberty. Everybody has right to get protection. Right to education. 21A. Protection against arrest and detention. You know what is protection against arrest and detention? You must have seen in various Bollywood films that if a person is getting arrested, there's a famous dialogue. Why are you arresting me? क्यों arrest कर रहे हैं आप मुझे? I have a right to talk to my advocate. I have right to make a phone call. I have right to know the reason of my arrest. All these are the rights given by the Constitution itself. जब आपको कोई arrest होता है तो 24 hours में we have to present him to the magistrate. We have to present him before magistrates. So this is something written here. All right. Next is Article 23 and 24. Right against exploitation. What is exploitation? Exploitation takes place when you do not treat humans like humans. अगर आप इंसान को इंसान की तरह ट्रीट नहीं करेंगे तो उसे एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ही कहा जाएगा. So there is a prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. What does it mean? It really means you cannot sell humans like other goods. You cannot treat humans like machines. You cannot, employ children at your workplace. This is called right against exploitation. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता that you are engaging a forced labor. If a particular worker is not willing to work with you at a particular wages which is being offered by you, you have to relieve him. अगर वो उस तनख्वाह पर काम नहीं करना चाहता which you are offering to him, you have to make him free to go where he wants to. बंधुआ मजदूरी, bonded labor, forced labor is prohibited, right? So next heading. Next is 16th. Right of freedom of religion. We have already discussed in the preamble of the Constitution that India is a secular country. We can practice any religion of our choice, right? But the central government, the state, the India as a whole cannot have a religion of its own, right? Article 25 says we'll promote secularism. Article 26 says religious denominations can be made. What do we mean by religious denominations? That means a particular religion can have followers. These followers can carry their own cult. These followers can carry their own symbols of their religion. Their followers can carry the gatherings of their religion. They can do anything to preach and practice and promote their religion. 27 says freedom as to payment of tax for the promotion of any particular religion. It should be considered as a donation rather than tax. Everybody is free whether to pay or not to pay a tax which is applied on so-called promotion of a religion. What does it mean? अगर कोई religion चलाने वाले लोग, religious guru, religious teachers say that for this particular advancement of religion itna chanda chahiye and it is compulsory, you have right to deny that. Similar to that, freedom as to attendance. If there is a religious gathering and that particular religious guru or religious preacher says you have to be present in this religious gathering, otherwise God will punish you. No, boss. You have right to attend or not to attend any particular religious gathering. That's a matter of your choice. You can even be an atheist. Freedom as to attendance at religious instructions or religious worship in educational institution. Education is for everybody. in a particular educational institution which is either state run or which is government aided, you cannot practice a particular religion only for all the students irrespective of their original religion. You must give them freedom, right? Hanji. Next is cultural and educational rights. They are also called rights of minorities, Article 29 and 30. Article 29 says a particular section of society, a particular set of people, a particular set of state can have their distinct language, can have their distinct script, their culture of its own. They can make reservations for admissions into any educational institution. They have right not to be denied. They can establish their own educational institution. This is for the minorities. There are few religions which are in minority. For example, people who are non-Hindu are in minorities, and if they are doing something for their betterment, they are allowed to do so. They can make their own institutions, and they have right not to be denied for admissions to any educational institution throughout India just because they belong to a particular religion or social strata. All right. Next heading. Next topic is right to constitutional remedies. There is a single article 32. What 32 says is, if your fundamental rights are getting hindered, if your fundamental rights are being taken away from you, if you feel that you are not able to enjoy your fundamental right because of some restrictions, you can go to the court. Right to move to the court to enforce such rights. That is the beauty of the constitution. It is giving you fundamental rights. Constitution आपको fundamental right दे रहा है. It is also giving you a right wherein you can go to the court to ensure that you have these rights. So good, so good. So next is 19th heading, supplementary provisions. In supplementary provisions, we'll say we'll think about, we'll discuss about, we'll talk about some basic principles which are so common that they do not even need a discussion. But if they are written in 33, 34, 35, let us discuss them. If you are clear with fundamental rights, you are clear with almost half of the constitution. Authority of Parliament to restrict or abrogate application of fundamental rights. For Parliament of India can put restrictions on the implementation of fundamental rights for a specific people who are people of armed forces, paramilitary forces, police and analogous forces. So if these people are not capable of enjoying their fundamental rights, they cannot complain. Parliament may indemnify means save any person in the service of union or of state or any other person for an act done during martial law. If a martial law is being implemented in India during that particular time, Parliament has power to indemnify any person. And 35, only Parliament can impose restriction on fundamental right and not the state. What is it? There are various states in India, you know that, right? If a particular state government is making a law which is going against fundamental right, that is void ab initio, that is null and void, it cannot be made. But the only possibility of making some changes or making a breach in fundamental right is the capacity of the Parliament only. Only the Parliament has power to make some law which may go against fundamental right. But that is also a subject matter of Supreme Court to review whether this particular law made by Parliament is valid or not. There cannot be any case wherein the Parliament or central government is making a law which is breaching the fundamental right, and if Supreme Court thinks it unjustified, it will also be declared void. तो स्टेट के पास तो पावर है ही नहीं कोई ऐसा लॉ बनाने की जो कहां जा रहा है, एक पर्टिकुलर फंडामेंटल राइट को क्रॉस कर रहा है, वायलेट कर रहा है. बट पार्लियामेंट फिर भी बना सकता है, लेकिन उसके बनाने के बाद भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट उसको नल एंड वॉइड घोषित कर सकता है. डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी, they are written in part 4, 36 to 51 articles. Let me first inform you that fundamental rights are over. After fundamental rights, these few articles from 36 to 51 talks about certain principles which are kind of internal rules for government. These are principles which we as citizen cannot go to the court and demand implementation of these principles. I told you in the very first line of this topic that these principles are internal rules of the government. Government has made a roadmap of their own. This is a kind of charter they have made for themselves. This is not for general public to get it enforced through the court. अगर कोई पर्सन फंडामेंटल राइट एंजॉय नहीं कर पा रहा, वो कोर्ट जाकर फंडामेंटल राइट्स मांग सकता है. लेकिन अगर ये प्रिंसिपल फॉलो नहीं हो रहे, तो सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया कैन नॉट गो टू द कोर्ट एंड से सरकार इज नॉट फॉलोइंग देयर प्रिंसिपल्स. राइट? व्हाट आर दीज प्रिंसिपल्स? State will secure a social order. They'll promote welfare of people. They have principles of policy. Legal aid ka equal opportunity will be given. They'll have right to work and education for everyone. Humane conditions for everybody, including the maternity situations. Good standard of life for every worker. Worker participation should be ensured in management. Uniform civil code is something that India is talking about these days. For all religion we must have a common code. बट अगर सरकार नहीं बनाती तो आप चैलेंज नहीं करते सरकार को कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में लिखा है फिर भी आप नहीं बनाते. कंपल्सरी एंड फ्री एजुकेशन फॉर चिल्ड्रन अप टू 14 ईयर्स. प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ शेड्यूल कास्ट, शेड्यूल ट्राइब एंड अदर बैकवर्ड क्लासेस. पब्लिक हेल्थ को इंप्रूव करना. एग्रीकल्चर एंड एनिमल हस्बेंड्री को बढ़ावा देना, काउ स्लॉटर को रोकना एटसेट्रा. एनवायरमेंट प्रोटेक्ट करना, वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्ट करना, मॉन्यूमेंट को प्रोटेक्ट करना. एग्जीक्यूटिव और जुडिशरी अलग अलग रहें. इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ द लॉ मेड बाय पार्लियामेंट शुड बी डन बाय समबडी एल्स, एंड इफ दैट लॉ इज नॉट फॉलोड द पनिशमेंट शुड बी अवॉर्डेड बाय समबडी एल्स. द सेम पर्सन शुड नॉट बिहेव लाइक अ किंग दैट ही इज मेकिंग द रूल एंड ही इज ऑल्सो गिविंग द पनिशमेंट. Maintain international relations. All right. Now we have the last heading for the today's class, fundamental duties. Fundamental duties are written in Article 51A. सबसे पहले I must tell you that these duties are not enforceable in the court of justice. The government cannot go to the court to demand implementation of these till the time there is no change in the law, right? If rights are not given, you can go to the court, but if duties are not followed, the government cannot directly go to the court. It can take some other measures to make sure you follow your duties, but they cannot challenge in the court that this person has not fulfilled his duties, charge him with the punishment. This cannot happen. So कौन सी duties हैं? Which all duties we have? Abide by the constitution, respect its ideal institutions, national flag and national anthem. We must respect to these things. To cherish and follow noble ideals which have inspired freedom struggle. We must protect sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. We must defend our country and we must do national service whenever called for. We must promote harmony and brotherhood, भाईचारा. Rich heritage हम अपनी preserve करें, protect करें. नेचुरल एनवायरनमेंट को इंप्रूव करें. ह्यूमनिज्म, साइंटिफिक टेम्पर और रिफॉर्म्स की स्पिरिट अपने अंदर रखें. वी मस्ट सेफगार्ड पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी. वी मस्ट अचीव एक्सेलेंस एंड वी मस्ट स्ट्राइव हार्ड टू अचीव एक्सेलेंस. एंड अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर एजुकेशन ऑफ आवर ओन चाइल्ड मस्ट बी प्रोवाइडेड एट लीस्ट टिल द टाइम ही इज इन हिज चाइल्डहुड. सी, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज नॉट ओवर येट. But I would advise you to look at some of the past papers, to look at the scanner if you have, to check that the topics which we have studied are enough to solve any question which have come till date from these topics. You may have missed detailed explanation in this class, but my friends, that has to be missed. It is a revision class. We can discuss only pointers. The explanation is possible only in the detailed class wherein constitution runs for 12 lectures. So we must make sure, we must make up our mind that the exam hall we should get 60 plus, right? 100 वाला भी पास होता है, 90 वाला भी पास होता है, 80 में भी आप पास होते हो, 70 में भी पास होते हो. If you always strive hard to get 100, you will have a tension here. Make it easy, take it easy, be happy, right? Constitution part 1 is over. We'll have it day after tomorrow. Thank you so much. The second part. Thank you so much. God bless you. Goodbye.